Okay, go time. Oh my God, this is so exciting. I have never done anything like this before, so I'm absolutely thrilled and excited and a little nervous. But hey, have you ever noticed that nervousness and excitement pretty much feel the same? The vibration to nervousness and the vibration to excitement are very similar. So I'm gonna go with excited. I am so excited to be here. And would you believe me if I told you I have not prepared for this show today in the traditional way that we know of preparation as? Yes, and that's new for me, and that's also a space that I know opens me up to a lot more creation in my business. So, I see a few of you guys are here already. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to this show called Being Entrepreneur. Now, let me start by just giving a little bit of information on who this show is for. This show is for the dreamers, the creators, the entrepreneurs, including the aspiring entrepreneurs. If you have always had this energy of possibility that spoke to you, that is greater than anything that you've ever experienced before, if there's an idea that speaks to you, a creativity that flows through you, and you know that you're here to contribute to something greater that you might or might not have awareness on what it is yet, and if what you wish to see in the world is more of inclusion, where people are loved and celebrated for who they are, and if that's the kind of world that you want to contribute towards, and if that's the kind of person you want to be, who's here making enormous contribution that she or he knows he or she is here to make, then my friend, this show is for you. Now, how did this get created? And let me actually, before we begin, let me give you a little brief on what this is going to be like. I'm recording this show live on Facebook. So if you're listening to this or watching this on any platform at a later point in time, then you're always invited to join me on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific time on my show on my Facebook page at I am Ava Pandit. That's where we go live. That's where all this magic and fun gets created. So how did it start getting created? I've had this idea of starting a show or a podcast or maybe a series of Facebook or YouTube videos for a very long time. And when I say very long time, I mean years. Literally for years, I've been sitting on this idea that I want to start my show. I want to start my own podcast. I want to, maybe also start a YouTube channel. I invested in a lot of courses to study them, but they never saw the light of the day. And so one day, I'm a part of a bunch of I love surrounding myself with creators. So I'm a part of a group of creators in which we get together every week and we, just brainstorm, talk about things and just soak in the energy of creation. And in one of those meetings, the idea came up again, and my sweet friend Crystal challenged me to just go for it, to just launch it, to just, without thinking too much about it, just see what it is. And hence, I just decided that, all right, it's coming to fruition. This show is getting created. And then, of course, like it happens, once I create a goal for myself that is way outside of my comfort zone, I started to spin into a lot of confusion. I started thinking about what exactly is that going to be, and how exactly am I going to record it, and where exactly am I going to, what are the tools I'm going to be using to edit it and post it. I completely spun myself in all of that. And if you're anything like me, you know exactly what I mean. You know how we set these big goals in front of us, these massive, audacious, big visions that we have for our lives. And then the moment we set them, something happens. Right? You're suddenly so twisted, and suddenly there's so much of confusion and fog that surrounds your awareness. And from that space of excitement that, yes, this is what I want to do, you're suddenly filled with overwhelm and anxiety and what I like to call the how obsession. So basically, your brain goes straight out to its job to figure out, all right, woman, this is what you're creating, but how? Like, it'll shoot all the obstacles right in front of you that, but how are you going to do this? And how are you going to do that? And how about that? And what if this? Like, all the ways, in all the obstacles that could ever, come in your journey of creating whatever that goal is, your brain is very quick at just presenting it in front of you like it's all a fact. Now, I'll take a little bit of deviation and tell you why that's not a wrong thing. And there's literally science behind it. Brain science. Yay! We're talking about science now. It's not all woo-woo, I promise you guys. Okay, so the science behind this entire thing is that if you go all the way back to the story of evolution and think about what is the purpose of your brain? Why was your brain created? Right? Like, everything that exists in your body serves a purpose. So what was the purpose of the brain? The number one job of your brain is to keep you alive. That's all it cares for. It only cares enough that, my person is alive. That's all that matters to the brain. So it has created very creatively some strategies in order to make sure that it's keeping you alive. And some of those strategies are predictability, familiarity. So basically, once you start living in a particular way, it becomes familiar for your brain. Like, that neural pathway gets connected, and it's just, the brain is just so much more comfortable in that space after that. And then it assumes that, all right, this path is working very well. Now, why do we need to do anything else? Because here you are safe. You are 100% safe. My human is protected. My job is getting done. And I'm not gonna let my human fuck it up. So that's basically what happens. Whenever you set a new goal, you don't have a reference point for it, right? Because everything that you already have in your life comes from your past, everything that you've already done. But if you have a goal in life, it's something you don't already have. It's something that you're moving towards. It's something that's in your future, right? So the brain, the moment it loses that grip of familiarity from the reference points it's drawing from the past, it freaks out. So good news, that freak out, overwhelm, and anxiety that comes up right after you set a goal for yourself, it is just a sign of a very, very, very healthy human brain that you have. Congratulations, it's doing its job so well. So now that we have got that piece sorted, the trick is, like, especially with people who are creatives and entrepreneurs and who want to be entrepreneurs, who want to contribute towards a greater world, who are the dreamers, the visionaries of the world, that this is your number one challenge. How do you overcome this limiting part of your brain, like, because that primitive part of your brain, because remember, this function of the brain goes all the way back to our early Stone Age days, right? So back in the Stone Age days, the brain was literally creating strategies to keep you alive. It was creating strategies to make sure that you are not eaten up by a saber-toothed tiger, say, or a barbarian doesn't come out of the bush and attack your tribe. So it was creating all these strategies to keep you alive. It's just conditioned to use them repeatedly without, even questioning if they're working right now or not. So the biggest challenge you're going to have as an entrepreneur is how to navigate through this primitive function of your brain, which is going to want to stop you, which is going to want to keep you back, which is going to want to, make sure that you stay in the cave, basically. Your primitive brain does not want you to step out of the cave, even now. It has no idea that you've evolved. It has no idea that this is 2020, even though 2020, is a year pretty questionable. But the thing is that primitive brain is doing its job. And our job as an entrepreneur, as a visionary, as a creator, as somebody who wants to contribute towards a greater future, not just for the world, but also for ourselves and our families. As that person, your number one job is going to be how to manage this biological function of your body. Literally, it's that. So it's literally a pull between this evolved version of you and this cave woman inside you, or the caveman inside you, that's literally just pulling you back all the way through the journey. It's just doing its job. So now that we got that covered, finally we come to today's topic. The topic for today's show is being more versus doing more to be more productive and to have more fun. And the reason I thought this would be an appropriate topic for our first show here is because this is literally the platform based on which you create a business that is not only thriving financially and not only thriving in energy, but it also makes you feel alive. It also, keeps that spark within you alive. Because the thing is that as an entrepreneur, when you start on this journey of business, you start because this is something that you love, right? You're just, as I say, do what you love. So you actually step upon the journey of doing what you love. But when you start that journey, you have no idea that a part of doing what you love is going to be a bunch of things you don't love, right? You'll have to learn a bunch of technology, a bunch of systems, marketing, 10,000 things. So it's very easy for us to get into what I call the do-do mindset, right? So the moment you create a goal for yourself, your brain goes to the job. First job, let's just try to keep our human from even pursuing this game. All right, not successful at that job. All right, what can be the next job? Let's just try that at least my human is going or moving at a level that's predictable, that my human is not like going out and beyond realms of control. There should be some familiarity. There should be some predictability to that future. So it starts to get into what I like to call, like I said, do-do mindset. It starts to think about what can I do to make sure that my human reaches that end goal without failing. Because you know what the brain equates failure with? Pain. And pain is a serious survival threat back in the cave days. Right? So the brain is just doing its job at every step, creating all these obstacles in between, making you overthink everything. But the thing is that while the brain is doing its job, what also ends up happening is that you start to lose out that spark, that fun, that enthusiasm, that playfulness that business was for you as an idea to start with. Now, being more versus doing more. When we get trapped into the do-do mindset, we are always just looking at what's the next thing that I can do to ensure that I reach my goal. What is the next thing that I can do to just make sure I don't fail. But the trick with that is that in that doing, we're not truly being present with ourselves. We're not truly being present to look at what is the energy that we're putting behind those actions. Because honestly, more important than what you do is the space that you're doing it from. Now, here's an example that I think I personally find to be it clarifies this whole thing completely for me. For example, like me personally, I used to have a hard time going to networking events. I always thought that I'm this antisocial person and I don't like meeting too many people, which actually turned out to be not true. It was a lie I was telling myself, but that's probably a story for another time. But I had a tough time going to networking events. And it was only when I started realizing that what I'm doing when I'm going to networking events is that I am going from a place of lack of belief in me. So I do show up. Yeah, I do show up for these events, but I'm so self-conscious. I do talk about what I do, but I'm like I have these barriers and walls up. And even though I'm showing up with a sense of self-doubt. And they always used to be this very weird energy to it. Until I was able to make that switch for myself, wherein I figured that, hey, if I am talking about who I am and what I do from a place of doubt or from a place of underconfidence, how is it getting communicated? So look at that versus you showing up in a room, absolutely believing in yourself, absolutely embodying who you are in your true power, true essence, and using the same words and communicating with people, right? So you're still going out, showing up, meeting people, introducing yourself, talking about what you do, your work, but here you're really just believing in yourself. The energy behind those words, same words, is different. And so guess where you'll end up making more connections? And guess when and where I started building more authentic, real communication and relationship with people? Yes, when I started using whatever words I use from an energy of belief in myself, from an energy of confidence, from an energy of that possibility that I've always been aware of. So it's incredibly underrated, and I think the most important thing for you to know that what you do, the words that you use when you're talking to people, in your marketing, in how you're showing up, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters 10,000 times more than the words that you use and the actions that you take is the energy from which they're coming from. What is the energy behind those words? What is the energy? What is the space? What is this state of being that you are when you're taking those actions? And can you imagine how much more productive you are going to become when you start doing whatever you're doing while making the energy your priority? So a lot of us, we make this mistake of making the actions our priority, our to-do list, the long list of to-do things, right? And we go after them and we keep taking actions after actions after actions, but they do not produce the kind of results that we'd like to have in our life. Well, that's because you're not truly backing up your actions with that strong energy that you are. That energy of possibility, that energy of belief. So, being more to doing more. Now, there are two mistakes that I want to point out that I made, and I don't want you to make in this entire thing. Mistake number one. The moment you catch yourself wanting to just keep on going in terms of action, no, I have to do this, now I have to do this, I've got to do this. Like the moment you get into that space of using your willpower or, just instead of, something's feeling a little off, but instead of paying attention to that or instead of addressing that, you start getting into, no, this, and this. That is the moment where you have to catch yourself, take a step back, recalibrate your energy, and then go again. So number one mistake I made was I kept going even when my energy kept depleting. I kept on ignoring it for a long time. I kept on thinking it doesn't matter, I can come back. I'm going to feel better once I hit that goal, but never happens like that. So number one mistake to avoid is that the moment you see yourself in that do-do mindset, catch yourself there and take a pause in that moment and recalibrate your energy. Number two mistake that I made was I used to believe that if I'm spending a lot of time in just being more, in cultivating my mindset, then it's a waste of time, first of all, because I'm spending so much time in doing that. And second of all, that I used to assume that being would eliminate doing, if you know what I mean. So basically, I used to think that if I started being more, I'll be like that woman in the caves in Himalayas, just meditating, being more, clearing her mental space, closing her eyes, just meditating, breathing deeply. And that could be a part of your strategy, but that's not all that being is. In fact, when you're being more, you take more actions. And those actions come from a very inspired space. So, two things to watch out for. One, when you're in the do-do mindset. And two, when you're being but not taking actions. Because for sure, then there's something about it that you have misidentified and misapplied, because that's not what being is. Being more is really just cultivating that space from within that drives you forward to take continuous action and build that momentum. And it looks similar to a third person because you're doing a lot of things, but the difference is going to be in how you feel, in your energy, in how you show up, and how inspired you feel every day. Because when you're in the do mindset, you'll be doing a lot, but you'll be depleting yourself. But when you're in the be-do mindset, you will be doing a lot, and you will be having a lot of fun, and you will be like really feeling alive and have just having a lot of fun. Let's just say that. So, my friend, being more versus doing more, to be more productive and to have more fun. I think that's about what I wanted to talk about today. But I would like to leave you guys with something to think about, with something to ponder on, with something that you can actually implement in your life. And so I'm going to leave you today with a question. And the question is that it's more like a wonderment, so when you're asking that question, just stay in the wonderment of what is it like for you to be in that creative space of possibilities and creation? How does that feel like? What is the energy of that space when you're creative and having fun and really just enjoying the process? What is the consciousness that you embody when you're in that space? And literally, what is that energy? What is that space? What is that consciousness that you are in when you are your most creative, most productive, most fun? So, spend some time on that. Stay in wonderment of that. Catch yourself in that zone. And build upon your familiarity with that zone of creation. All right, so that's all I got for you this week. Until we meet next week again, same time. Bye, and happy creating!